The Friedman IRX Tube preamp got a lot of praise and hype when it was just released. But is it worth the hype and how does it sound? In today's video, we're going to find the answers to those questions. And we're also going to try this pedal out with a bunch of guitars and a bunch of styles. Now, this amplifier was sent to me by the folks at Bad or Boutique Amp Distribution. I'm not getting paid any money though, and all thoughts and opinions, as always, are 100% my own. So, the Friedman IRX Tube preamp is a very simple device and very easy to use with some very clever features that make it quite versatile. It's a real high voltage tube preamp with two 12AX7 tubes inside of it. And of course, the tubes basically take care of that organic tube tone. Now, the preamp has two channels. Channel 1 is a clean/crunch channel, and channel 2 is basically the high gain channel. But you can also kind of get a high gain crunch tone with channel 1 and also a low gain crunch tone with channel 2. Now, a cool feature that the IRX has is the boost function that you can switch on or off with the dedicated foot switch over here, and each channel basically has its own boost. And the boost controls have their own individual level controls over here, so that's great. So you can turn that on to boost the level for a solo as well as the gain. And of course, each channel also has its own dedicated volume control for the non-boosted tone. So balancing out the levels between the channels and the boost is really easy. Each channel also has its own gain control over here, as well as a 3-band EQ. And with these two mini pots over here, you can also fine-tune the gain of the boost. Now, for fine-tuning the tone of channel 1, there is the bright switch in the form of this mini toggle switch over here, and it has 3 settings. So you can really go in and fine-tune the brightness and bite of this channel, which I really like. For darker neck pickup tones, for example, I like to set this on for a bright tone. And then for bright and spanky single coil tones, I like to set this to the middle position, which is the darkest tone. And then channel 2 has this tight switch over here with the on and off setting basically. And you can turn this on for a more tighter bottom end response. Now, as you can see, obviously this preamp has 3 foot switches on it. You can use the first 2 to switch between the channels. And as I said, you can use the third one to turn the boost on or off. You can also use the switches to bypass the IR, turn the loop on or off, and to store your presets. Now, this thing is actually really nice for going direct, so going straight into the PA or for recording. And it does that with power amp simulation and with cabinet IRs. This pedal does come with some Friedman IRs preloaded into it, but of course you can also load in your own impulse responses, which is what I'm going to do for this video with my favorite OwnHammer IRs. And by loading in your own IRs, you can really make the sound of this thing your own, which I like. And you can basically load 3 IRs into each preamp channel, and with this dedicated switch over here, you can switch between the IRs. Now, when you load the IRs, you also get power amp simulation. And that comes with presence and thumb settings. So kind of like a presence and resonance control. However, they are preset. So there are basically 3 settings that you can toggle in between. And each channel basically has its own individual presence and thumb controls. So when you go direct, it basically is supposed to sound like a full-fledged tube amplifier head with no compromises. But if you're plugging this directly into a power amp and a real cabinet, for example, or into the effects return of your tube amplifier, you can just turn the cab IR section off. On the back of the pedal, we have the input jack, the send and return of the effects loop, a balanced out with a ground lift switch, a headphones out, a MIDI in, the USB port, and the power adapter port as well. When you hook this up to your PC, you can use the Friedman amp editor to tweak some of the controls and to also load in your own impulse responses. You can't really tweak the actual potentiometers of the pedal on the editor, but you can turn the boost on or off and the loop, and of course, add your own impulse responses and stuff like that. And as far as I know, you can only change the presence and thumb controls through the editor app. I haven't found a way to do that manually on the pedal itself. But again, to tweak the 3-band EQ, the gain controls and stuff like that, you're going to have to do it manually on the preamp pedal itself, okay? So that's the main gist of it. Pretty simple, right? But still capable of a lot of things. So now let's see how this thing sounds with 4 different types of tones, going from clean all the way up to high gain metal and everything in between. Now, for the recording setup of this demonstration, I'm running this preamp pedal in the effects loop of my Fractal Audio FM3, which I'm also using as my audio interface. So I'm going direct with this pedal. So all the tones in this video are coming directly from this pedal. For all the drum sounds, I'm using my new favorite drum sampler, which is ML Drums by ML Sound Lab. And I basically built some custom kits with that plugin, as well as some custom mixes inside the DAW, which is Cubase 13 Pro. No post-processing will be applied on the guitars, aside from a simple low cut at around 70 or 80 Hertz or so, just to clear out the low-end mud and rumble. Okay, let's start with a beautiful clean tone using channel 1 with a low gain setting, so basically a clean setting with a very small amount of breakup going on. And I'm using a single coil pickup, so I'm going to set the bright switch to the middle position, which is basically the warmest tone, to complement the brightness of the single coil pickup. Presence and thumb will be set to the middle positions in the editor. And the guitar that I'm using is my Schecter Sunset 7 Triad, that 7-string baritone, with the single coil pickup in the neck position, the Apocalypse pickup to be precise. And that's a really beautiful sounding guitar, especially for clean tones with those single coil pickup settings. And the IR that I'm loading up for this tone is the OwnHammer Rockbox, and I'm using the M25L 2003A greenback speaker option with the modern 3 mic mix. I'm also running a pedal in the effects loop, a reverb pedal by Walrus Audio, the Fundamentals reverb for some nice added ambience. Okay, let's go ahead and check it out right now. Cool, I like that a lot actually. That was a very beautiful clean tone. As I said, sparkly but also balanced and even sounding. Really cool. And I also like what the reverb pedal added to the tone. What can I say? I mean, I wasn't expecting this pedal to do the best clean tones, if I'm very honest, but this really surprised me. I thought it sounded perfect. So yeah, I'm already really impressed. Now let's turn up the gain and try some classic rock tones. Again on channel 1, but this time I'm going to enable the boost for a bit more punch and a bit more push. And the guitar that I'm going to use is my Gibson Les Paul Standard 60s on the bridge pickup, which is a Duncan JB. So again, channel 1 with the boost on, and the boost adds some gain, but it also adds a little bit of tightness basically and a bit more punch, kind of like enabling a tube screamer or something like that. This time the bright switch will be set to the left position for a little bit more bite in the tone. I'm using the same OwnHammer Rockbox M25 greenback IR, by the way. And this time the presence and thumb controls will be turned up to the maximum settings. Let's go ahead and check it out right now. Great. Again, that sounded really nice. Definitely has that typical Friedman modded Marshall tone going on. And I think it sounds excellent. I really like what the boost adds to the tone as well for this channel. Again, it makes it sound a little bit more focused and hot-rodded. But if you turn it off, it sounds more raw and classic and vintage, basically. Now I want to get heavier. So let's go to channel 2 and see how that sounds with a heavy rock tone using my Gibson Les Paul Custom. I'm going to turn off the bright switch for now, as well as the boost. So it's just the pure preamp tone, basically. I'm using the OwnHammer Rockbox again, but this time I'm using the V30MV speaker option, again with the modern 3 mic mix for a little bit of a different speaker flavor. Okay, let's go ahead and take a listen right now. Check it out. Wow, another great tone. Nice, fat, and chunky, and yeah, what can I say? I really like it. I guess this little thing does kind of fool me in thinking that it sounds like an actual big tube amplifier head, which is quite impressive for such a small analog and digital hybrid device. When I played through the pedal for the first time and just plugged it in, I was a little bit underwhelmed, but I'm starting to like it more and more each time that I use it. So yeah, it's sounding great. And now for the final tone, I want to try something metal, so really heavy, using my LTD NW44 with the bare knuckle aftermath in the bridge, tuned to drop C. Again with channel 2 with similar settings, but this time I'm turning on the bright switch as well as the built-in boost for more gain. And I'm using a different cab IR this time. I'm using an OwnHammer IR that's better suited for metal, which is the Low Tuned Essentials pack using the high gain mic mix. And that's my absolute favorite IR for metal, basically. Okay, let's go ahead and check it out right now. right. Damn. Again, that sounded really excellent. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed by the tones that I'm getting out of the Friedman IRX. I think that the tones of this demo speak for themselves, but what are my thoughts? I think that this pedal definitely sounds great, and it is versatile indeed. I mean, it can do clean tones well, it can do crunch tones well, and it does the high gain stuff well as well. And yeah, it has that typical Friedman modded Marshall tone, so that's what you're gonna expect, of course, when you buy one of these. I think it works really well for recording and stuff in the studio, but I expect that it will perform quite well live as well. And I also like that you can load your own impulse responses and that it has that power amp simulation with the presence and thumb controls. That's a really nice addition. In terms of the overall tone, it comes quite close to an actual big tube amplifier head, but I guess it misses a little bit of that big amp mojo, a little bit of that oomph and rawness and compression that you get from a big normal tube power section. But it does the job really well, and it's quite impressive for such a small preamp. So yeah, for me, the Friedman IRX gets a big thumbs up. I think it's really nice. That's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to the folks over at Bat and Friedman for sending this over to me. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and subscribe down below, as that really helps the channel out. I'd usually appreciate it. And also let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on the Friedman IRX. You can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook and Instagram, of course. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers.